Good morning, everyone. I hope you're having you've had a good start to the day. Today I'm just going to demonstrate what I'm calling the golden black double emboss technique. So I've just been experimenting during the week with a few things, and I thought I'd come up with this little idea, and I thought it'd be nice to share it with you. I'm hoping to sort of do one of these demonstrations every fortnight, so just stay tuned. So these are the products that we're going to be using. So the clear embossing, the black soot distress ink, gold embossing powder, the little perfect pearls, and then I like to use the archival ink for stamping. I know we've got our black ink here, but I just find the distress ink doesn't give you that nice crisp image that the archival does. So it's completely up to you. Please, if you've only got one black ink, don't go out buying another one. But if you want to get that really lovely crisp image, as you can see on here, the sentiment is stamped really crisply, and that's with the black archival. So we're also going to be using the heat tool, and we're also going to be using the Gemini MIDI, which is just over there. There it is. Okay. So now if you aren't watching live, then this little video will be available on my Facebook page, so Lucy's Kaszazz at Bateau Bay, and it will also be available on my YouTube channel, Lucy's Kaszazz. Okay, so these are the two little cards that I've already created. So this the Eiffel Tower one, that 3D embossing folder is no longer available from Kaszazz. It's been retired, but I do have one here if anybody particularly loves that. I think it looks quite beautiful. This little one here, the Regency Swirls one, that's still available from Kaszazz, and it also comes with the electric Gemini Junior as part of the package. So just keep that in mind. So this one is still available. This is the one that I'm going to be demonstrating. Okay, so let's get started. So first of all, I thought we might start with the little flower, because that's going to take a little while to dry. So I've just used 3 different flowers, 3 different size flowers. These come in a pack from Kaszazz with the 3 different sizes in them. So what we're going to do is just spray them with the pearlized water. So all I've done is mix up some water with a little bit of the perfect pearls. That's what I mean by pearlized water. So the perfect pearls is just a lovely pearlescent powder that you just add a little bit to an atomizer. Okay, so we're just going to spray the flowers. So fairly wet, and they're quite durable, these little flowers. So you're just going to scrunch it up in a little ball. I know some people are gasping at this at the moment, but it works. And what we're trying to do is give it a little bit of a lifelike feel, rather than having flat flowers on our cards. I love flowers to look a little bit lifelike, so this is one way that I've found works quite nicely. So again, just crushing it up. Then what you're going to do is just very gently, because they are paper, they are fairly durable, but you don't want to be too rough with them. So when they're wet, they're just a little bit more delicate. So just unfold them, not too much, because you want them to keep that sort of roughened shape, but you want to see all the petals. There we go. So there's one. This is number 2 coming up. There we go. and then number 3. Now, to join them together, you can use whatever glue you like. I've got the glossy accent here, so I'm just going to use that. So just, and of course my glossy accent is locked up. So we'll just plonk it with a pin, and that should get it flowing again. Oops, a bit too much, but that's all right. Then just plonk the other one in the middle, and then the last one, the third one, in the middle. Now what I forgot to show you is that you can, to make them look a little bit more lifelike, what you can do is just pop it in your hand and just give it a little scrunch with a paintbrush or the end of whatever you've got handy. So you can do each of them individually before you put them together, or like I just did, because I'd forgotten to do it, I've just done it with all 3 together. So we can just leave that there. Then what I'm going to do is, because I thought I'd like to carry on the gold theme, so I'm going to just use a little gold sequin in the middle. So again, just another little dot of the glossy accent, popping the little gold sequin in, and then popping a little pearl. So these come with a sticky back on them, but I'm just, with the sequin, it's quite slippery. So I'm actually going to add a little bit of glossy accent to the center of that. And then, so these little pokey tools are great for lifting the pearls off. So just leaving it on the little pokey tool, the little paper piercer, and then just placing it in the middle. And then just getting it into the position that you're happy with, and then just setting it aside to dry. So I'm just going to leave it up there to dry. So that's that part done. Then what we're going to do is I'm using watercolour paper. Now our watercolour paper comes with a rough side, I don't know if you can see it on the camera, and also a smooth side. So it's a little bit of a distressed kind of look. By the time you put it through the embossing machine, it's not going to make a huge difference. But I'm going to start with it on the rough side. So what you're doing, again with the water, you're just giving it a light spray, both sides. Now, if you've gone too much, then you can always get your trusty old nappy out and just give it a little bit of a dab down. So you're just spraying that. Then on what I call the debossed side, so the side where the background is uppermost, you're going to swipe on your black ink. So just swipe on the ink, because basically you want your black in the background, not in the foreground. So you can see here the white area on the swirls is raised. So that's not where you want the black ink. You want the black ink on the background. But again, you might want the reverse. So it depends on what you like the look of. So then we're going to put that down and close up the folder. I'm just going to move everything aside. Bring in our little Gemini MIDI. And then we're just going to roll that through. So the Gemini MIDI is so easy to use. You don't have to worry about plates for the 3D embossing folders, because it just goes straight through. Okay, so that's the effect that we've got now. Okay, so we're going to wipe that off, because we're now going to emboss with the gold embossing powder. So just wipe that off. Give it a little dry, trusty old nappy. Then we're going to pop on the clear embossing. So on the same side that you just popped the black ink, so we're going to wipe on the clear embossing. Sort of, it doesn't have to be, because we probably don't want that completely covered with gold. So it's kind of random, because you can always add more later. So now the slightly tricky part is getting this all lined up again, because you want to emboss the exact same area that you just have. So we'll look for a part. Once you've got one area in, yep, so that feels nice and sturdy, you should be able to just get the other area lined up. And again, oops, pop it through the middle. Such a cool toy, the Gemini MIDI. Okay, now we'll lift it out, and then we'll quickly get on the gold embossing powder. So you're just going to spread that on, and then just swirl it about. Okay, so to me that looks like it's got a pretty kind of random cover. If you're not happy with anything, what I do is just get my trusty paintbrush and just brush off areas that you think you might not want the gold in. So just give it a nice tap, because again, we don't want all of that black completely covered. Just going to set that, pop that back in a little jar. And then we're going to heat. So just with our trusty heat tool, we're going to emboss. So what I do is I tend to start in an area and then move on. So as that area changes colour, I then move the heat tool on. So just if you shine it in the light, I don't know if you can see that changing down in this bottom corner here, and then we just follow it up. Whatever you do, don't burn your fingers. And no two of these cards are ever going to look the same. So this one's got a little bit less black in it. It was probably a little bit lighter. So you might just, and again, it's experimenting with your inks. If your ink pad's heavily inked up, you'll get a lot of ink on that embossing folder. If it's not heavily inked, then you're going to get a paler look like I've got today. So you can see with my other card, it was a bit darker. So just making sure that you've heated up all the gold embossing powder. And I think that's the magicalness of this type of technique, because your card is never going to look the same as somebody else's. I think that's got it. Okay, so you can see there the black and the gold on there. So it's a little bit, oh no, it's pretty similar. I think there's probably a little bit more black on the original card. But again, it's just mucking around and seeing the effect that you like. I'm actually pretty happy with that. Okay, so then it's just wrapping the ribbon around. And tying a bow. I'm not the greatest bow tyer, but anyway. Doesn't have to be perfect, because you're going to mainly cover it up with your flower. If you really don't like tying bows, then you could just tie it in a knot. Maybe do a double, like so, tie it once and then cut a piece and then tie it again. So that's my very quick bow. What I like to do is I always like to pop a little V in the ends of the strands. So just, whoops, wrong way. Just cutting a little V. So just folding it in half. Didn't do the V very well on that one. Let's have another go. All of a sudden my hands have started to shake. You're making me nervous, girls. Okay, so that's a little bow. Then we're just going to put some tape along the back. So again, with the double-sided tape, I just love tearing it. It's just so easy to tear. Then we've got our black paper, black cardstock here. Now, if you find you don't have fingernails, again, that's where the paper piercer comes in really handy for getting off the backs of your tape. And then just lining it up so that you've got an even border. With your embossing, it's sometimes your paper's a little bit out of shape, so sometimes you've just got to force it back into shape a little bit, and then the black card will kind of hold it in place. Then your 4 pieces of tape on the back. So that's ready to put on the card. Then we need to do a little sentiment. So I quite like this sentiment. Here's to love, laughter, and happily ever after. So I thought that was quite cute. So our black archival ink, which is still sitting here. So just always when you're stamping, have your stamp on the table and take your ink pad to your stamp. I find you get a much better inking. You're not going to ink the edges. And then when you're stamping, what I've done with this one is I've lined it up with the grid on the craft mat to make sure it's actually straight on my block, because when you look at the back of it, you can't actually tell where the writing is. So if you've got it straight on the block, you then know when you're putting it on your piece of scrap card or whatever, that you just need to line up the edge of your block with the edge so that it's equal distance. You know, you might not have it exactly over the edge because, of course, that would be too high, but always have it so that the edge of your block, so whether it be the side, the bottom, the top, whatever, wherever you're looking at, is equal distant. And then that way when you're stamping, you know your sentiment is going to be straight. And then with your stamping, straight down, give it a press and then straight up, so you're not getting any of that halo feature. Now this is a bit too long on this side, so I'm just going to trim it up with the trusty little Crafter's Companion guillotine. Now all the products that I've used in this demonstration are available from Kaszazz, except, like I was saying, that Eiffel Tower embossing folder is no longer available. So just straightening that up. Now you can, you know, just edge around that with, say, a little bit of black ink or a little bit of gold ink. But I thought another little technique that's quite cool is just embossing around the edge. So just with the ink pad, you can just kind of do a bit of random inking. And then if we get our trusty little scrap bit of paper, pop the embossing powder on. Shake it all about. Now I've got it in the middle, which I probably don't want a whole heap in the middle. I could have used the embossing puff pillow, but you know, I got a bit of slack and I forgot about it. but I kind of don't mind because the card's a bit distressed, and I don't mind if there's a few flecks of gold on that as well. There's the phone. That's just going to have to ring out, isn't it? Okie dokies. So we can just now emboss this. So if you didn't want, like that's quite, I'm just going to take a little bit of the embossing powder just slightly off there. So I didn't want that really centered bit. And if you've done this and then you're not really happy with it, you can always go back and re-ink and put a little bit more embossing powder on it. But I was just happy with just a little bit of gold here and there. If you want a definite edge, well then of course put a definite edge on, but I want it to look a bit distressed. Thanks, Bren, for answering the phone. There we go, I think that's fine. Now, as it is, the gold is actually, I don't know if you can see it, but the gold is actually picked up because the black ink was still a little bit wet. So you might be able to see on the E and the R of the after and the H of the happily that it's actually picked up a bit of the gold embossing powder, which I quite like the look of that. So then we're just going to pop it on a little black mat. So again, I love using up my little bits of scrap. So this is where I go into my box of scrap, find a little piece that fits, and they're perfect for mats. So again, we're going to line it up on 3 sides. And then that way we just trim it down to where we want it to be. So I think that's about right. Yep, that looks pretty good. Okay, so we've got our sentiment ready now too. So we've got our little flower there ready to go. Our sentiment. Now we just need to fold our card. So most people can fold bits of card, but I find I can't get it lined up properly. So this is again where the Crafter's Companion guillotine is really handy because it gives you a nice straight edge and you can just push onto that straight edge and give yourself. It also comes with the bone scorer as well. I like the Kaszazz bone scorers, so they feel nice in my hand, nice and smooth. So the reason we score it is because see now it sits flat. If you don't score it, it kind of flips up at you. So that's sitting nice and flat, and then all we need to do is add our little piece that we've created. So just pulling the tape off, lining up. I always hold my fingers under so I can line up 3 of the edges to make sure that there's it's equal distance. And then hopefully the bottom will fit into place as well. And then just press down. Okay. So then we're going to add our little flower. So that I'm just kind of just going to pop over the top of the ribbon like that. So you could use a bit of mounting tape. Can I bring it out? Yes, it's over there. But I'm just going to use a bit of the glossy accent. So I'm just going to put a big glob of glossy accent there and then just plonk that onto the glossy accent. Okay. Then we've got our mounting tape here. So again, when you're using mounting tape, don't put the mounting tape pieces on the very edge because you don't want to see it. You want to put it in from the edge. So just popping it in from each of the 4 corners. And then probably one in the middle to hold it up. Okay. Now you might want to put this straight on. I think I put the last one off on an angle. So just work out, you know, have a look and see. Oh, that actually doesn't look bad. Although I still think I like it at an angle. So work out which is pleasing to you, and then you put it whichever way you think. Often if you've made a little mistake or somehow you don't like a particular part of your card, then that's where you can put your little sentiment. I'm going to put it there. Okay. So that's the little card. What else did I have to tell you? I think that's it. Yep. So that's it. That's the card. Oh, no. Of course, we haven't added the eye stickles. I knew there was something else. So then with the eye stickles, we're just going to add it, and this is always the very last thing because your eye stickles is going to take a little while to dry. So you're just going to give it a little squeeze and add it to just the tips. And again, not all of them, but it kind of looks a little bit like silvery dew on the flower. So it's quite, I think it's quite pretty. And again, it just adds another little element. So I've made this as kind of as an engagement card, a wedding card, but it'd make a lovely birthday card. It's quite a little versatile card. Special occasion birthday would be nice as well. So if you've got any questions about anything that I've posted, that I've demonstrated this morning, please contact me. You can pop a comment in or contact me personally if you've got any other questions. Also, if you've got any questions about any of the products, please feel free. Yeah, let me know. And I hope you enjoyed this little demonstration, and stay tuned. Hopefully, if I get my act into gear, there'll be another one in a fortnight's time. Okay, take care and have a wonderful day, and I'll catch you next time. Bye.